Welcome back to Cryptopia, where we go over the wet and wild happening in NFT land. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way in today. Got some articles over here. Just going to take a look at the news and see kind of what's been going on in the NFT space lately. So starting off, there's a lot of gaming news today that I have. Came across. I've been collecting articles throughout the week, and there's just been a ton of gaming related ones. So here we go. Ubisoft is done creating new content for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, even if you bought an NFT. It seems there will be future NFTs for Ubisoft, though, so that's a good thing. So it's not like they're completely abandoning it, I guess, but they kind of are. Ubisoft is no longer creating content for the Ghost Recon Breakpoint. The company announced on Tuesday, which really didn't give anybody a lot of time because I think they kind of announced it and it was basically happening right after. The game gained some notoriety for its heavily criticized Digits NFTs from Ubisoft's Quartz platform, and the end of content creation means that there won't be any new NFTs for the game, according to the Ubisoft announcement tweet. For that game specifically, they're not abandoning NFTs entirely. They're just kind of stepping away from this particular part, the Ghost Recon Breakpoint NFTs, which really weren't that great NFTs to begin with. So whatever the hell they're planning for the future, better be a lot freaking better, because that was trash. I have a thing over here, right? Here's some of the stuff that you could get for the Ghost Recon Breakpoint, right? You know, a bunch of hats, okay. And you got some guns and some masks and whatnot. I mean, people did buy them. Don't get me wrong. People didn't buy them. They did use these, and you know, they attached them. I guess you could attach it to your character in the game. But you know, now there really isn't that much variety. At least it's not very interesting to me. Maybe people did like them, and that's why they bought a lot of them, but I don't really think they did that well. There's obviously a lot of pushback when it comes to NFTs and gamings and any kind of micro transaction going on in the game, and that's basically what these kind of are. It's just for skins. It's not going to change the performance of your gameplay, but you know, still people weren't super ecstatic about the whole thing. So the last 4 months marked the release of our final piece of content, the brand new Operations Motherland mode. Tons of new items, including 20th anniversary iconic outfits and quartz items. Ubisoft said, we will continue to maintain our servers for both Ghost Recon Wildlands and the Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and we truly hope you will continue to enjoy the game and have fun playing in solo or co-op with your friends. Ubisoft thanked players who claimed Ghost Recon NFTs on their platform and promised more NFT drops in the future. You own a piece of the game and have left your mark in its history, Ubisoft said, as the last digit for Ghost Recon Breakpoint was released on April 17th. Stay tuned for more updates with features to the platform and the future drops coming with other games. So they're still going to be doing NFTs. A lot of people still aren't that excited about it, but you know, when it comes to the Ghost Recon stuff, that's probably done and what it is. Now, in either this article or the other one that I was reading on this, they mentioned the fact that they were asked about, hey, are you going to be able to port what you have into other games? And they couldn't really comment on it. They don't have any plans for that right now. I think that would be a great idea. Otherwise, I mean, they're stuck in that one game that isn't really getting any further development. So you can sort of expect that game to slowly die off. Probably. I mean, maybe not, it doesn't really have to, but you can probably expect that would happen, and essentially making your NFT kind of worthless. It's not really that big of a deal. I personally don't think, as you know, it's like any amount of time you spend in any game gathering items, killing dragons, whatever it is you have to do to create the really cool looking outfit that you have, you can't really transport it into any other game, really. It's once you have it there, you sort of just have it there, and once it's gone, it's gone. That's pretty much the end. Obviously, technology over the years have kind of changed this, and certain games do allow crossover stuff. Pokemon comes in my head, for example, when they created that I forgot what they're called, but you could, you know, originally when you were playing Pokemon, you play the game and you can only keep your Pokemon kind of in there unless you know, had your friend and you could trade to them and then trade to the other game or whatever, right? But then they create, I think it's a Pokemon bank or whatever, where you could just basically send all your Pokemon there and then retrieve them in another game. Anyways, that's that. So, game developer group states using NFTs in gaming presents ethical issues. I could see how this could come up. The International Game Developers Association, the IGDA, IJDA, that's not how you pronounce it. I'm just fucking around. A group integrated by a number of game developers and programmers from companies across the globe have addressed the use of NFTs in the gaming industry. The director of the group has stated that the introduction of these elements in gaming projects presents ethical issues, and this also might present a social or socio-political explosion waiting to happen. So the IGDA's take on NFTs, they don't like it. Obviously, most places don't. Aside from the gaming companies themselves, most people do not like gaming NFTs involved in their games. I've said it before, I'm saying it again. They just don't. They see it as a nuisance. It doesn't really add anything extra to the actual game itself. It simply just is a cash grab by the companies to do so, to, milk some money out of their people. Especially when you have stuff like what just happened with the article we just read on Ubisoft, and how Ubisoft is sort of just leaving that section high and dry. It's not really a big deal. Again, like I said, if you really look at the grand scheme of how other games, you don't really take what you've earned in them to any other game. But yeah, I guess the idea with NFTs is that it's eternal, so you should be able to bring it elsewhere and do other things with it or whatever. So one of the biggest groups comprised of game developers and programmers have taken their take on NFTs in games, as the companies have stated. Basically, what is it here? In the process of revisiting our stance to be a little stronger, because there's actually a lot of ethical issues that come with NFTs. So what they're worried about, the pyramid scheme aspect of it. So what they say here is these games present, in particular, it's a sense of them requiring a constantly growing user base to keep their self-sustained economies afloat, like some play-to-earn games do. And I agree with that. Most games work like this, where you do require, you need a certain level of growth to sort of sustain the game itself, and have enough activity so shit's going on, and people will want to play, right? Because they have other players involved and it gets fun. The play-to-earn stuff is a little sketchy in this department, where most people are sort of using these as employment. This isn't happening a tremendous amount, but I do know in certain places, especially in some, third world countries, there are, I think Axie Infinity was one of them, where people are using it to help kind of subsidize their income, right? Whatever they're doing, it's not making enough, so they play these games as well and try to get some money out of that. But the game itself can suffer because, no one's really, people are playing to earn, and they pull the money out, and there's really no new money going in, as everyone's just playing, getting the tokens, and then pulling out so they can pay their bills. So this is a huge problem with play-to-earn games. One of two major problems for play-to-earn games is this one. So according to Villa, gamers are also affected by the unregulated characters of the NFT environment, where gamers can put their whole employment activity in uncertain ecosystems outside of any official protection. This, with other aspects, might create a socio-political explosion. Yeah, there needs to be a lot more regulations, especially in the gaming space, but NFTs alone should also be regulated. I think a lot more of them are coming off as securities than, they should be. Everyone will say this, and their mother will be like, well, this isn't an investment. Don't get involved in this, thinking that it's going to balloon up or whatever. It's like, hey, but yet at the same time, that exact same, NFT company group or whatever will be like, well, we're going to be doing all these things to help raise the price of the money, of the token, of the NFT. And then also, when you invest in us, we're actually going to invest in other people, and then take a percentage off of them, and then divvy out a percentage off to you. I'm like, okay, you're not a security at all. That's what a lot of securities do. That's what a lot of ETFs do. So I don't know, it just seems a little bit weird, and I would like to see more regulations in the space, as I think it's very much needed. While some companies have addressed the introduction of NFTs and play-to-earn games as an important element for the future of gaming, there has been a heavy backlash from groups inside gaming that have opposed this new trend for several reasons. The IGDA has been part of this opposition from inside the industry and issued a call to action statement in July 2021. At the time, the organization declared NFT should never be used when a simple and far less costly database table can be managed to provide the same information and benefit. In the same statement, the organization recommends proof of stake based networks instead of proof of work because of the energy, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, we do need regulations in this space. They're going to come eventually. They are kind of taking their time, but we still don't really have proper regulations on cryptocurrency. So that's probably first. NFTs, though dangerous and though, costing a lot of people some money, they're not that mainstream, I guess I could say. Like, people know what an NFT is, like they know the idea, they've heard of them, but I still have to explain what an NFT is to most people when they ask me anything about crypto and NFTs, right? So, and most people aren't even invested in cryptocurrencies or have any interest in getting invested in cryptocurrencies. That part is growing, but that has to grow much larger, and then the NFT space to come in after, because people don't understand the use case of an NFT and they just see like the Bored Ape Yacht Club stuff, which, doesn't really make any sense to them. It's just a JPEG. Why are people going so crazy over it? And then they just see other JPEGs and think the exact same thing. So the regulations on this is going to take some time, and it sort of needs to be self-regulated by the people within the community, sort of helping each other out. At least that's the way I see it. I definitely think the play-to-earn stuff needs to be scrutinized, needs to be looked at, because again, you do have a lot of people who are banking their whole employment on on certain ecosystems. That being said, a lot of people have jobs in companies where you really don't know if that company is going to last the next year, especially during COVID. How many companies shut down? So the problems that they're facing aren't necessarily new. These are the same old problems in a new medium. But it's the same old problems we've always had for centuries, right? You don't really know when you spend your time and efforts into something, is it going to work? And for those who, bank their whole employment on this or whatever, if it fails, they'll go find a new job because they have to. That sounds cruel, but it's like, to me, again, it's like if the company I work for, if it shuts down, sucks, I have to go find a new job now. And it has nothing to do with NFTs. So anyways, moving on. Official Formula One NFT game shuts down. Tokens are now practically worthless. Oh no. So F1 Delta Time, an official NFT and crypto-powered racing game that launched back in 2019, closed its doors last month. So this is one of the first NFT games. It was, people were super excited about it if you're into Formula One. And when it came out, it made headlines, right? People were really into it, but they weren't now, the people behind it, they weren't able to renew the license with Formula One, and sort of just scrapping the whole thing. There's nothing more they can do. Now, that being said, the company is providing them it says generic cars on here from a different some other racing game that's on Polygon, but they're giving them the purchasing, the rarity worth that there is equivalent to whatever they owned, right? But a ton of people spent $300,000, $100,000 into this project. I was taking a look at it before to see how the game kind of runs a little bit. Looks all right, but people were really excited about it, and they spent a ton of money into this, and they didn't really last too long. But most people are, granted, a little angry about it. So here's kind of what they're doing to sort of reconcile the situation, we'll say, right? As part of our commitment to an open ecosystem, we are providing F1 Delta Time asset holders with the following options. All F1 Delta car owners will receive replacement cars, which are equivalent cars for Rev, that's their native token, racing on Polygon based on the rarity and power of your original NFT. Your F1 Delta Time car can be swapped for a race pass, which is used in staking and gives access to future NFT mints and airdrops. Staking will have our largest reward pool yet. So, they are trying to help with the situation. You can hear the comments on this, and a lot of people calling it scammy or like, yeah, this was always going to happen. NFTs are scam, blah 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 blah. It sucks. This is gonna happen. I always say this all the time. Anyways, this is a new industry. NFTs are a new asset. They're new in a variety of different ways, and they're involved in a lot of different things. We're gonna have failures for sure. Like 98% of this shit's gonna fail right out the fucking gate. You know what I mean? And then over the next few years, you're gonna see a lot of them fail and fail. And people are gonna use that to sort of shortchange NFTs and crypto as a whole and be like, look, it doesn't work, it can't work, blah 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 blah. It's like, no, most businesses fail, dog. Like most businesses fail. Okay. Doesn't mean that business as a whole is just a dumb idea. It's like, no. There is you can find use cases for this. They are going to explode in other areas where they will succeed, and some places they will fail. That's all. That's simply it. They tried this game out. The game was not that, people got really excited about it at the beginning, and then it fizzled out, and then Formula One did not want to renew the licenses because they're like, well, the game's not doing as good as we thought it would. And that's that. Right? They made a business call. They tried it out for like 3 years or whatever. And they realized that like it's not working. That's it. There's really nothing else to read into about that. It's like, it says, hello and welcome to another episode of dumb crypto stuff not working in the real world. These guys hate, like they always talk shit about, whenever I read articles from Kotaku, they always talking mad shit. But again, most of these are going to fail. You're going to have to see these failures. You're going to see what rises to the top eventually. And just because this had a big name and tons of money behind it and it didn't work out, it just didn't work out. I don't think that's a call to arms. That's like, oh, NFTs are done, everything's a failure, everything's crashing and burning. It just means that this particular venture did not work. That's all. All right, let's move on from like all this gaming stuff. Actually, that's not true. I have another gaming stuff coming up after this non-gaming one. We'll take a break from gaming for a second here. Pudgy Penguins NFT collection looks to next chapter with 2.5. I just wanted to bring this up real quick. I won't stay too long on this. This was a collection of 8,000 plus of these cute little penguins. And what happened is that I made a video on this a while back and I can't remember the full details, but essentially the people behind it, the founders behind it, were not living up to what they said. Even though they had the money and they, had the people to get it done, they weren't able to, and it's primarily because they were young guys, is what it seems like when I looked at it. And if I remember correctly, they were young guys, and it's just like they're taking on a lot, and they couldn't really handle all of it. So each NFT, each Pudgy Penguin NFT is also a governance token. So they made a vote. They took a vote, and they elected one guy. His name's Luca Nets. Will be given full control to do with what needs to be done, and that was voted on. So this started happening, I think, in January, because I remember talking about this a ways back, and then finally kind of everything got settled very recently. So Nets plans to officially announce the close of the sale on. Yeah, I think there was a bunch of other people that were offering to buy it too. But anyways, Nets planned to officially announce the close of the sale on social media late Saturday, and added that the deal was 100% not an April Fool's joke in an interview with Coinbase. But that's why he held back from announcing it too quickly. But essentially, he's now in control, and they can move forward with what their original plans were with staking. I think they want to get the Pudgy Penguins in some deals with merchandise, and they also want to get in some films and stuff like that, animations. So they have a whole bunch of stuff planned. It does make sense why the original people probably could not keep up with it. There was too much for these young business novices to really be able to keep up with what the demand was or what the expectation was. So hopefully this works out better for them. I'm actually really excited. I don't even own a Pudgy Penguin, but when I read about the story a ways back. I was hoping to actually come back to it, and it's nice to see them pop up in the news again, just to hear that everything's kind of, you know, back on the right track. So that's good to know. Back onto the gaming stuff, we got Roblox layered clothing is here. Don't call it an NFT. So to, you know, it's a long article. So to keep things quick and simple, they created this sort of a program where which, you know, so if you don't know Roblox, I didn't really know too much about Roblox, but essentially it's almost like a metaverse, right? Because it's like an ecosystem where which you can go in there, you can build games in there, and then people can play the games in there. So Roblox itself is not a game, but you can build and create games within Roblox, and then you can play those. And so they also had like, but you have different characters. You can like be a dinosaur, you can be a person or whatever. And I think what they had problems with was the kind of the clothing. They couldn't find a way to make the clothing attached to, because you have developers in this in the Roblox ecosystem as well, and they were able to code their own stuff. So they're creating some really cool and unique characters, but you can't transfer the clothing onto these characters because it, you know, you have to redesign the character from scratch with the clothing. And so they found a way using some crazy idea. Like, how did he do this? He found like some space age technology is how he fucking did that shit. So the tech required to pull this trick off is complex. Yeah. Okay, so it's quite literally from rocket science, inspired by the way air changes a rocket's shape as it soars. One of our engineers was looking at the topology of how rockets get affected when they get shot up into space, and how both the skin of the rocket deforms and allow you to control that rocket, he says. And then he started using some of the papers around that to figure out how you can control multiple layers that are effectively connected to each other. That's wild to me. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing, dog? Like, how are you even sitting there and like, man, look at that rocket and how it moves through fucking space and time. Can I make that happen in the game? I would never have thought of that, but that's probably why I'm not a fucking developer and I'm a YouTuber on here. Because like, that's crazy to me. But anyways, so they figured that out, and then but it's not an NFT, right? So this article says, don't call it an NFT. Because it's essentially not an NFT, right? It's not on the blockchain. It's native to the Roblox ecosystem and the world that they've built there. And when they asked about like, well, could you transfer this on? Could you incorporate blockchain technology so you could maybe move it to a different game? They said, yeah, we could, but what the fuck's the point? All right. So we made this shit for our game, for our area, our native, our ecosystem, right? You come into there, the system's already been made and set up to adjust to your character. So it doesn't matter if it's a dinosaur, it's a fucking car, it's a tree. They mentioned that in the article. It can fit. You can put the clothing on it. It'll adapt to it. That's how we made the technology. Now, we want people to come into our game or come into our ecosystem and build games that they can play in our world. We don't want fucking blockchain technology to transfer off our game into a different game. Now, fuck that shit. Basically, that's what they said verbatim. So they don't need to worry about. They're not worried about that. They don't need to incorporate that. They're just like, we don't need it. It's useless to us. It's irrelevant. They've already figured it out. And Roblox is supposed to be a place where you come to them and build on their shit. They don't need you going off into somebody else's shit. So it makes sense to me. Okay, now finally back off the freaking gaming news. Snoop Dogg to issue unreleased music as NFTs on Cardano blockchain. That's pretty much everything you need to know about this. I just threw this in there because I thought it was pretty cool. American rapper Snoop Dogg has reportedly partnered up with Clay Nation to release some of his unreleased music, limited edition pitches as non-fungible tokens on the Cardano blockchain, though. Nice to see Cardano getting some love. And yeah. So lastly, the United Kingdom Treasury Minister has tasked the Royal Mint with creating an NFT as an emblem of the forward-looking approach. Her Majesty's Treasury says it'll take toward cryptocurrencies and blockchain. The project was announced in a speech. The Economic Secretary to the Treasury made the speech, who said at a summit that more details on the mint would be coming very soon. While countries like Ukraine have issued NFTs before, this particular announcement feels a bit different. For one, it's coming from one of the highest levels of the British government. It's also supposed to be carried out by the entities in charge of printing the country's money. So this is cool. It's not to say that UK citizens should expect the government to replace the pound with Her Majesty's coin anytime soon. The announcement's complete lack of details make it easy to see it as just a PR experiment or exercise. A way for the Treasury to show that it really is serious about making the UK a hotbed of financial innovation and getting in on the ground floor with crypto by, announcing an NFT over a year after Taco Bell came out with its own NFT. Hilarious, yes. So I know they want to be like Britain, UK, whatever. They want to be like at the forefront of crypto. They want to show how welcoming they are to it. It's an interesting, but it's not that crazy to me, which is why I threw it in at the ending. This is my last article. I mean, we'll see what becomes of this. There really isn't much to say about this. Royal Mint NFT, the first ever. Sure, do it, get it done. Everyone and their grandma is minting bullshit. Why not the UK government too? All right, guys, that's it. Just wanted to touch base. Don't usually make them this long. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the articles right here. Anything you got to say, comment on. Are you happy about all the gaming news that we went over? What do you think about NFT gaming? What do you think about Snoop Dogg? And are you a Pudgy Penguin holder? A Pudgy Penguin holder? If you are, let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys next time.